Welcome back. July marks the halfway point of the year, and for small business owners, it's the perfect time to take a pause and reflect. And if you're struggling to figure out what the next steps are, take a listen.
Yeah, this morning we're getting some advice on how to decide if it's time to pivot or power through. For more, we're joined now by motivational speaker Ramon Ray. Ramon, thank you so much for your time this morning. As always, we appreciate it.
Hey, Dan and Abby, thanks for having me here. It's good to be here, and what a great segment you all have had so far. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's dive in. You've got business owners. We have just hit that midway point in 2025. Kind of hard to believe, but it's downhill from here. For many, they're planning for the big sale season, which is, right around the holidays. About 3 months from now, I'm sure we'll start to see those signs go up. What do they need to know? What should we be looking at to decide if we're on the right course or if we need to pivot?
I love that, Dan. I think there's 3 things to consider. And as you know, Dan, as one who started 5 companies myself, sold a few companies, authored so many books, I think about this quite often. I think as one, Dan and Abby, is to ask, this small business owner should ask, what progress have I made so far? Do I have some meaningful sales or something measurable to give me the emotional insight, but also the reality insight of, should I keep going? Have I made progress? That's one. I think number 2 to consider is, do I really enjoy this? When I wake up in the morning, am I excited, more or less, about running the business that I have? And part of that, do I have the grit, the entrepreneurial smart hustle to keep going? And then the third point I would say, are you able to continuously learn? Running a business, Dan and Abby, is not easy. I've been doing it for a minute. And so if you're not able to continuously learn, that's when you may want to think, hey, and there's no shame, maybe I should apply for a job or reconsider or pivot how I'm doing it. But I think that, what progress are you making? Do you enjoy it? Do you have the grit to keep going? And then, are you able to consistently and constantly learn? Those are some things you want to put on a chart, yes or no, to help you decide when to pivot or not.
I imagine those are tough conversations to have with yourself. What's your advice for digesting all of that information, maybe if it's not what you are hoping to discover about yourself?
Yeah. Can I tell you a secret, Abby, with just between me and you? Can I tell you a secret? I don't want to offend anyone.
I won't tell.
Okay. So here's the secret. Stay away to some part from your family and friends. Not when I say stay away, let me rephrase that. What I mean to say is, ask others outside of your I support you orbit. It sounds weird, Abby, but I found that when you just stick with family and friends, people in your church or synagogue, they will give you different advice. You need to talk to somebody that has kind of no stake in your emotional feeling, but can really give you the honest truth, the honest fact, then to help you decide how the reality is at that time.
How do you then break that news? Say you have hit the halfway point and you think, this business is unsustainable for the rest of the year. We had a bad, fourth quarter last year. Things have gone downhill. The market has shifted. Things have changed. We need to shutter. How do you then make that call?
Yeah, Dan, it's excruciating. It is not easy, and it's very tough. But 2 things I can say. One, I hope, and if you haven't, it's okay, but I hope you've been sharing the journey along the way, educating your wife or your husband, educating your kids as much as they can, letting people know the journey you've been on for the past 6 months or year or more. That's one. But then if all the things you put together, you realize this really is not working out, I think with no shame, tell your trusted circle, here's where we're at. I've tried these solutions. It's not working. It's time for me to consider something else. And I hope you support me in that decision. Any good people, Dan and Abby, they will cheer you and put their hand on your back and say, we understand, and then learn from that. And maybe it's a new business you're getting in, and or you're doing something else in life. But there's always day one can be again and again, as long as we're all here and smiling.
It's so important to have a good, strong support system to lift you up when you're feeling down. My question for you is, how do you not get yourself down? How do you keep that inner voice that's telling you, you're failing at this, you're not going to make it? How do you keep that out and focus on the good?
Yeah, one thing that has worked for me, Abby, and I've gone through this before, I've suffered with bouts of feeling low and depression and ickiness in life. So I'm a first person that's gone through this, but I think surrounding yourself with the right people. You don't just want cheerleaders that are going to cheer everything you're doing, but having those people that can support you, that can put their hand on your back and say, you know what, let's get back up. Let's do it again. Let me work through this with you. So I found NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming. Sounds a bit wonky, but it's a real thing. Therapists and things like this, whether they're professional and or friends, those type of things, Abby and Dan, can help because we're all human. We've all had journeys. We've all had a past. We've all had issues that are kind of yucky in our life, how we grew up, how we were treated as children. And so that's the human aspect that we will bring into our business. But the key is there's hope that we can move on and get over it for sure.
Ramon Ray, thank you as always. We really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Dan.